You are listening to Perplexity.
In the old world, there were many stories of a mysterious ancient goddess. She has been commonly labeled a goddess of ancient Greece, but she did not originate there. That is part of her mystery. She may have originated in the Minoan civilization, and evidence of her has been found in Sicily, Libya, Turkey, Bulgaria, and Syria. It is believed the Turkish town of Lagina was the home of her most important cult center. She is a multifaceted goddess, neither good nor evil. She is often depicted with three faces, sometimes with the heads of animals. She is a moon goddess with a threefold identity of a young maiden, a middle-aged mother, and an elderly crone. She is a modern goddess with ancient roots. She is known as the goddess of death, who guards souls in the underworld. She is also the keeper of the crossroads, goddess of the moon, goddess of ghosts and nightmares, and the goddess of crops. Perhaps the most significant of all is that she draws devotion from those who practice magic, especially those who self-identify as witches, resulting in the common name, Goddess of Witches. This is the story of Hekate. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Perplexity, a mystery podcast. As always, I am your host, Kadra. If you're new to the show, hello and welcome. I tell tales every single week that have perplexed me. So if you love a good mystery that leaves you wanting more, don't worry, you're in the right place. And if you end up enjoying today's episode, I would love if you continue to follow along. If you are a returning listener, hello, my friends. Welcome back and happy October. So happy you're here. And I have a great episode for you guys today. This story is so interesting to me and I'm really excited to get into it. And I am not alone. I'm so stoked because today I am joined by Shelby from the Scare You to Sleep podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. Your intro just got me I am stoked. I am ready. I'm here for it. Oh my God.
Yay! I'm so stoked too. I always let my guests pick the topic, and Shelby gave me a couple of options. I think you said paranormal, dark history, and cults, maybe?
I think so. Yeah.
And this has all three of those things. So perfect.
Oh my God. Yay. Yay.
Super, super excited. And if you guys have not listened to Scare You to Sleep before, I think you would really enjoy it. And Shelby, we will talk more about your show in a little while, but do you want to just plug it for a minute and kind of explain and how this is the perfect collab?
It really is. So I have a show called Scare You to Sleep. I read mostly fictional stories, but I do a lot of true story episodes too, and dark Reddits, where I basically read you stories to scare you to sleep. Or you can listen when you're awake. There's no rules. I'm not your dad, but yeah, I read stories that are various topics, and I frequently mention in my show, because I do kind of rambles at the end where I talk after the fictional stories about my life and everything. And I talk a lot about high strangeness. And so when I found out about Kadra, oh boy, this show is right up my alley. And I'm very excited to be here. And so, yeah, if you want some more high strangeness combined with some fictional stuff, go check out Scare You to Sleep. And you can find that wherever. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's a great quality production. Shelby has a fantastic podcasting voice as well. And yeah, it's a great, to sleep kind of voice. But yeah, I love your show.
Thank you.
So a couple of quick announcements, and then we will get into this story because I cannot wait to get into this with you. But I just want to remind everybody really quickly that I have my live show coming up in just a few weeks on YouTube Live. So save the date, Wednesday, October 30th at 8 p.m. Central. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, it's at Perplexity Mystery Podcast, and I'm doing a full story. So you don't want to miss that. I have picked my topic and it's going to be really interesting. It's true crime meets witchcraft, which we're talking about witchcraft again today. So it'll be really, really interesting. Yes. And Also, this week on Patreon, I will have more bonus content coming out, another round of Cursed Games, because that's the series I'm doing for October. And I just finished up my true crime coverage, the documentary coverage that I do probably like once a month. And this month it was the case of Missy Witt. And the documentary coverage is on Hulu if you guys want to watch along. So be sure to check that out, patreon.com/perplexity mystery podcast. And as always, trigger warning for today's episode, this podcast is not for children, so listener discretion advised. All the sources used for today's episode will be down in the show notes. So, Shelby, are you ready?
I'm so ready. I'm so excited.
So without further ado, let's get into the story of Hekate, the goddess of witches. So first, I thought it would be great to start with just some history. They say she's a modern goddess with ancient roots. So let's go to like the ancient times for a bit. So Hekate is known to help those experiencing transition, whether it be a life transition or a literal transition from like the living world to the other side. So she helps guide people into the afterlife. And she's also been called the key holder or the torch bearer because she's able to open doors for people and show them hidden truths, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. A lot of people because there's people who still worship Hekate to this day, which we'll talk about. But people who worship Hekate will often say that like she comes to them in dreams. And I know that like when people have dreams, sometimes they'll have like those premonition dreams and like things that their subconscious is telling them. So it reminded me of that because she like opens doors for hidden truths.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of those. So this is very interesting to me. It's so funny. I've heard her name so many times throughout, just being into spooky stuff, but I've never heard her history or much about her. So this is like, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm very like, this is really fascinating already.
She was so interesting to learn about, and she's like such a badass. And I just love her because she's so multifaceted. She doesn't really like fit into I haven't studied tons of mythology, but I feel like a lot of mythological beings fit in like these little kind of niche boxes where it's like, this is what they did. These are their characteristics. They're good or they're evil. And she is like all encompassing. Like she's like everything. So it's really interesting to learn. And there's so many different legends about her. I read a book for this story, and so that's going to be down in the show notes, but it's called Hekate, Goddess of Witches. It's by Courtney Weber. Fantastic book. And she also talks a lot about witchcraft in that book, which I don't get into like nearly as much detail because I wanted to just really talk about Hekate, but great book if you guys want to learn more about this. She was also the guardian of places where three roads meet. So one of her titles is the goddess of the crossroads, which is again kind of similar to those transitionary periods in your life. And without her, it is believed that souls of the dead would wander restlessly for all of eternity. She has been associated with the cosmos, the sea, the earth. She was thought to control the elements, the land, the moon, and the stars. And while commonly linked to darker things like bloody sacrifices, battle, injustice, and creatures of revenge, she is also known to be a comforter and a healer. A lot of people who worship Hekate say that she gives like these strong motherly vibes. So that's what I mean. She's super multifaceted. So in ancient Rome, 800 BCE to roughly 500 CE, she was known as a savior, great and powerful. The first writer to mention her was a Greek poet named Hesiod, who lived in Greece between 750 and 650 BCE. And this was interesting because when Hesiod wrote about Hekate, he wrote as if he already knew her, but she was supposed to have like just gotten there. So a lot of people speculate that she has much older origins that could go back all the way to like the 5th or the 6th century. Other people say she's been around since the beginning of time, coming from some unspecified faraway place. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Good for her. She looks
good
great.
For her.
She looks
right?
Great for being thousands of years old. Yeah.
There is a video game that my fiance played, and I ended up playing it too because I just thought it was so much fun, but it's called Hades. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Hmm.
Okay, so Hecate is in that game. I really had not heard of her. And she, in the game, has like this gigantic witch's hat and it covers like most of her face. And then she has like kind of this crop top pea coat situation. And then you can like see her six pack and she just looks like super mysterious and hot. And I was like, who is this person?
Isn't that the dream, being mysterious and hot? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
My goal anyway.
That is the dream. I was like, I need to learn who this is. So it was really interesting to like read more. So she's believed to have been worshipped amongst the most ancient gods of Olympus, and she's said to have been as powerful as Zeus. One in
Whoa, that's quite a statement to make. Dang, that's a very superstitious type statement to make too. Like, wow.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know how like how many people are listening to this that are like super into mythology. So I'm wondering like how those people are going to feel about this episode, but
I know.
this
It
is
made
what I
me a
was
little bit
told.
like, Deuce, I didn't say that. I'm just relaying the message, please.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, no hate emails, please. So one inscription from the Roman imperial period says that Hecate was so great, in order to obtain priesthood of Hecate, you had to obtain priesthood of Zeus. And I didn't know what this meant at first, because again, like I don't study a lot of mythology, but
Hmm.
it's my understanding that each like big time god and goddess had kind of their own little like team of people who would like
Yes.
do things for them. And so they would have these
Hmm.
priests and kind of like secretaries and all these different people. So if you wanted to be a priest for Zeus or for Hecate, it was like Hecate is just as powerful as Zeus. So if you want to work for Hecate, you have to prove you're like worthy to work for Zeus.
So it almost sounds like she's more powerful because, like, if Zeus is the test and then you move up to Hecate, mm, that's
Yeah, there's
interesting.
some interesting legends about her origins that kind of come back to that. That's the other thing about this too is I say this with a lot of my folklore stories. If you hear something that doesn't sound right, just know that there's like literally thousands of legends about Hecate
Mm.
and they're all very different. So it's kind of like the game of telephone, you know, how I tell it might not be how you've heard it. But this is according to the book that I read. Okay, so in other legends, Hecate was an aunt of Zeus. And then in others, they say she's a daughter of Zeus. She's believed to support farmers, travelers, soldiers, and she's also known to protect newborns. In the ancient Greek
Oh.
town of Lagina, Hecate gives the stone replacement to the titan Kronos to devour, and this protected him from eating his infant Zeus. So I hadn't
Yeah,
heard.
I was gonna
Have
say
you heard
that's
this
Zeus's
story?
dad. I know that
Yeah.
much. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I again like didn't even know this stuff. So Kronos, this titan god, gives birth to this son, Zeus. Obviously, Zeus would later become like the most powerful god ever. But Kronos, to keep his power, would eat his children because he didn't want them to
Hmm.
overtake him on the throne. And Hecate in this legend basically tricks Kronos and saves Zeus's life by giving him a stone to eat instead of Zeus. So pretty cool. Hecate is also said to be a fertility goddess, and she shares a special bond with women who struggle to conceive or whose children die prematurely. In the myth of Persephone's abduction, Hecate also played a crucial role in helping the grieving Demeter find her missing daughter. She also aided Persephone
Wow.
while she resided in Hades.
Neat. Man, she's everywhere. What a jack of all
Everywhere.
trades.
Yeah, and one of
Wow.
the like first things I ever came across about her was like they called her the most mysterious goddess of all time. Like basically they said that we know the least about her, but I think
Hmm.
in the way that they mean it is just like she's not written about as much and the legends about her vary so widely, so it's hard to put
Hmm.
her in any box.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see the mystery. It's like she does cameos all over all these really like these stories. I've heard these stories like Persephone and Zeus. Didn't know she was like just standing right off screen having a huge part in all of it. That's
Exactly.
crazy.
Well, and
Yeah.
that seems to be the way that she likes to do things. She likes to be
Hmm.
out of the limelight, and that is mentioned in some of my notes as well. There are legends that write of Hecate as being one of the great giants of the universe. A lot of people say that she was a titan that Zeus actually overthrew But instead of fighting Zeus for her power, like a lot of other gods did, Hecate
Mhm.
joined forces with Zeus.
Oh, wow. Twist ending. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty cool. Like, she's so
Yeah.
not threatened. Like, she's like, I don't have to be in charge. I can be just as badass right next to you.
If not more, just,
Yeah.
quietly.
It is said when she is summoned, if you dare look upon her, you will be destroyed. She prefers to do her work unobserved, so seeing her would send her back to the underworld, interrupting her tasks and leading to major repercussions for the person who barges in. And the famous occultist Aleister Crowley has described Hecate in his writings. So in his 1929 book, Moonchild, he would say of Hecate, quote, "She is a thing altogether of hell, barren, hideous, and malicious, the queen of death and evil witchcraft. Hecate is the crone, the woman past all hope of motherhood, her soul black with envy and hatred of happier mortals." End quote.
Whoa, what a read. Oh my God. I mean, I feel
Yeah,
like so far that's like you said, the three faces. I feel like you almost see which face she chooses to present to you, or maybe what you choose to see of her. And he chose
exactly.
the crone, and like she's just bitter because there's so many other people in the story that she's helped and has been amazing to. But Aleister Crowley, of course, is like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a much,
Mhm.
at least in that writing anyway, that he had a much darker opinion of her. But there's all these other
Yeah.
legends that describe her as like this beautiful maiden. A lot of people call her a virgin, or they say she was never married.
Oh,
She was also, though, a mother, implying that she did take on lovers, but never
okay.
married. Get it, girl.
Wow. I mean, good for her. Yeah.
So, as far as like her kind of origins, a lot of people wonder where her name came from. So her name may have the same root as Hekatos, meaning worker from afar, like being behind the scenes.
Wow.
The name could also come from the word ekato, meaning hundred. And if her name does come from hundred, she could be connected to the hecatombs. These were places of rituals and sacrifice in ancient times, and it was a tradition there to sacrifice 100 oxen. Her name could also be tied to 100 because of the ancient belief that ghosts of unburied persons were doomed to walk the earth for 100 years.
Oh, I mean, 100 years isn't so bad, I guess. Kind of dear. That actually makes a lot of sense. I just watched the show Chaos. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on
No.
Netflix and it's about the Greek gods and goddesses, but it's like set in modern times and like how it would be if like they were still like running stuff. And they have kind of a thing where like those who were unburied or not buried with a coin to cross the river Styx, they have to work basically at like they like work like in an office or like as worker bees for 200 years or maybe it was 100 years. And so I guess that is like a part of the mythos like overall. That's really interesting. I thought that was like made up
Yeah.
for the show, but like apparently that's like part of it. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Hecate like brings people into the afterlife, and if she doesn't,
Mhm.
they wander. So, yeah, that could definitely have some ties. That's really cool. You said it's called Chaos?
Yeah. Chaos with a K. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out. There's also evidence that suggests later on, when Christianity was being established, Hecate was labeled as a representative for pagan cults, and she was known as the main rival of Christians.
Ooh, dang. The main rival above Satan. That's pretty interesting. Again, once again, we have Zeus and Satan who are like, I'm in charge. Everybody knows about me. And she's like, actually, I'm the real villain. So I'm the
That's
real
kind of
one that's,
what I love so much about her. It's like she's like
yeah.
so quietly confident. It is believed Hecate dwells in tombs, caves, the darkest places on earth, basically, the depths of the sea. She also dwells near the blood of murdered persons. She was thought to send forth demons and spirits from the underworld at night and linger at crossroads as well in order to teach sorcery and witchcraft to those who sought her. So there's like this legend that says if you go to the crossroads and you like
Mhm.
leave food, especially because that's like a place where someone could pick it up and find it and have a meal, or if you like go to the crossroads and summon Hecate, then you're like much more likely to contact her because that's a place that she like dwells all the time.
Okay. Okay. I mean, everybody write this down in case you want to summon
Right?
Hecate.
Well, and that's like literally that book by Courtney Weber. It's like a step-by-step guide to like following her, and it talks about all these
Wow,
different
okay.
rituals and like here's a ritual for this occasion. If you're feeling this way, you can leave this at your altar. Like there's all these different, it's really cool, like recipes and stuff. It was very interesting to read about.
Sweet. It's so funny, there's that legend of Robert Johnson, the jazz singer or jazz player. Have you ever heard of him? He
No.
like allegedly met the devil at the crossroads and like that's where he got all of his talent from and he like sold his soul. But it's like, what if he met Hecate? Maybe that was her.
Ooh.
I've actually been to like the place in Mississippi where he allegedly like met the devil at the crossroads. And so like I don't know, it's just kind of interesting thinking like maybe it was her the whole time. Maybe it wasn't the devil. Maybe the devil's taking all the heat from her and she's like, she likes it that way. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's really interesting. Yeah, it could have been Hecate. So in ancient times as well, she had a lot of followers. She had like these cult centers where people would go and worship her, altars. There were people who would summon her. Medea, a witch and central character in Greek tragedies, is often known to summon
yes,
Hecate in times of trouble.
that's right. Yes. Okay.
Okay, so as for her family, I'm gonna just kind of go through this quickly, but for people who are like super into mythology, a lot of these names should be familiar. So Hecate's great grandmother was Gaia, whose body is the Great Quiet Earth, existing long before humans walked on it. Also, if I say any of these names wrong, I'm so sorry. I'm like
You
really
got
trying,
Gaia
but
right. Gaia,
okay.
that's the only way I've ever heard Gaia said. So,
Okay.
yeah, Mother Gaia. Yeah.
Feel free to like interrupt me if you know I'm saying something wrong because this is so not my forte. I always tell my listeners I'm learning along with you.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I like that. Mm.
Her great grandfather was Uranus, referring to the heavens and endless skies, and Uranus and Gaia were the parents of Phoebe, Hecate's maternal grandmother. Phoebe's associated with prophecy and oracles. Hecate's maternal grandfather was Chosis, the axis of the world, and also
Okay.
associated with oracles and prophecy. Hecate's paternal grandfather was Creus, linked to the ram and constellation of Aries. Other legends say Hecate was the granddaughter of Helios, the personification of the sun and all-seeing force. Her paternal grandmother was Eurybia, master of the sea, wind, and constellations. And as for Hecate's parents, there are many legends, but one of the most common ones is that Hecate was born from Titans, Asteria and Perses. Asteria is associated with sleep, dreams, and astrology, while Persis is known as a destroyer.
Oh, great combo.
So, animals and symbols associated with Hecate. So, Hecate is an animal lover, and she's connected to many animals: the lamb, the bull, the dragon, the goat, the horse, the owl, the
The
serpent, the
dragon?
lion. Yes, the dragon.
Wow.
It's giving Game of Thrones.
Right?
But one of the most common animals that Hecate is associated with, and by far the most well known, is dogs, especially black dogs. So she's a dog
Ooh.
lover. Yeah, and there was a story in the book that I read for this that basically talked about I don't know, it was like ways to honor Hecate, and one of them was like volunteering at an animal shelter or giving
Oh,
your dog a treat. I was like, that's so cute.
that's really sweet. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So the dog is one of her symbols. She is said to appear on Earth accompanied by hounds. So that made me think of like hellhounds because they say she lives in Hades.
Yeah.
And their whining and howling announced her approach, which is like so cool.
That is. Oh, that's so ominous. I just pictured like,
Yeah.
being in the middle of the forest or at a crossroads and all of a sudden you hear these like whining and howling from these hellhounds. Ooh, I love
Yeah.
that.
And like
I love
lightning strike.
the pageantry. Yeah. Love that
Yes.
she loves a theatrical entrance.
Absolutely. An image from 5th century BCE, Lakythos, depicts Hecate as a dog eating the dead in Hades.
Mm.
So another imagery with her and the dog. She's also known as the leader of dog packs and is even sometimes called the bitch or she wolf.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Why not? Yeah.
Why not?
The bitch, capital B,
Yeah,
capital
I
T,
am.
like that's pretty cool.
I am that
Exactly.
bitch. Thank you.
Exactly.
So, some other common symbols for Hecate are the torch, the whip, the dagger, and the key. The torch is the symbol of the underworld. It's fire, it's revealing these hidden truths. And it also symbolizes Hecate's role in the cosmos. She can illuminate literal and figurative paths and bring wisdom. The whip is a symbol of power in the underworld and potentially used to punish the souls of the eternally damned. The dagger may refer to Hecate's ability to cut a soul loose from this life. And the key is one of Hecate's most poignant symbols, representing mystery and hidden secrets.
Mystery and hidden secrets. I like that a lot. I don't know. I really like that you can call to her and be like, reveal things, please. Because, I don't know. I just feel like that would come in really handy, Not
Exactly.
like lottery
Yeah.
numbers, but, like about your sense of spirit or about this person that you're about to, like, I don't know, propose to or, things like
Yeah.
that. Like, give me a
Exactly.
little peek.
Yeah. How many times in life are we like kind of going with our gut and just having no idea what's going to happen,
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Exactly.
So let's get into like the witchcraft side of things because she is known as the goddess of witches. So, witchcraft to this day largely remains connected to Hecate, along with feminism, art, activism, and environmentalism. Historically, Hecate has identified with people who cast spells, perform rituals, and connect with spirits with the intention to make change. With that being said, while most people today who worship Hecate self identify as being witches, it is not a requirement, though there is no working with Hecate without working with the dead. So that would require
Oh.
like offerings to her. So basically, they say anytime that you're working with Hecate, you are also working with the dead. So that kind of made me think of like mediums.
Oh my God. I wouldn't have thought of it in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So another like rabbit hole I want to kind of go down because I mean there's so much you could research with this, but I wonder if there's like mediums out there that like self-proclaim like to worship Hecate or like study her like legends and stuff
Exactly.
like
Like
that.
that's who
Yeah.
gave them that gift because
Right.
that would make sense to me. Like, okay, this came from somewhere and if it's gonna come from anywhere, it sounds like Hecate would be where it could come from. So yeah,
Absolutely.
wow.
Yeah.
Neat.
It is said that those who seek Hecate often find that their lives become chaotic, similar to what you hear from other religions. So, like when someone becomes a Christian, they're like, the Lord
Yeah.
is testing me when these things happen to them. She's known to change your life plans. Following Hecate
Oh.
seems to be a path of learning, mystery, and self discovery. And what's really cool about this, I guess you could call it a religion, is that believers really get to decide for themselves if they want to follow Hecate or not, and if it is Hecate that's calling to them. It's very open. There isn't any kind of
Okay.
strict doctrine, there's no set expectations, but the other side of this is it can leave room for self-doubt. So like a lot of new followers say they have a hard time like knowing where to start or like if who they're actually hearing is Hecate's voice or is it somebody else's? What are they supposed to do? Like what's my path essentially?
Okay. I mean, I guess that's the downfall of like having the goddess who is the mysterious one. She's not going to be very forthcoming right off the bat. Like, hey, Hecate, it's on my badge. It's me, like she is gonna do it mysteriously. I love that.
Exactly.
Very on
Yeah.
brand. Yeah.
Very on brand. So, to worship Hecate, many followers keep an altar and they make offerings to her. Popular offerings are olives, dates, stuffed fig leaves, wine, garlic, lamb, coffee, and herbs. Other followers sing songs, recite poems, or paint a picture. And then there's those other offerings I talked about, like leaving a meal out for somebody, picking up trash, volunteering at a animal shelter, things like that. Just basically things that honor the earth, it seems.
That's amazing. Yeah. And like
Yeah.
it seems like honoring people who are, I guess, a part of the earth. I mean, they are.
Yes.
I said, I guess, but they are. But I just feel like I haven't heard that from like other goddesses and gods and stuff. It's usually a little more like bring me wine and gold and like sacrifice this oxen, but this is
Right.
very like, I don't know. That's neat.
Yeah, there was like a whole chapter talking about how she like all the different people she helps, and there's a whole specific area that talks about like people without homes and like how to help them and like how that's honoring her. And I was like, yeah, this is really cool. And then like her ties to
Wow.
people who have like they struggle to conceive, so she's like
Hmm.
she helps all kinds of people. So I thought that was really cool. There's traditional times to contact Hecate as well, like when there is a new moon, because remember, she's like a moon goddess, or when it's the
Yes.
30th day of the month. That's also a good time to
Okay.
contact her. Religious calendars found at Ephesus, modern day Turkey, say that sacrifices were made to Hecate on the first, second, and seventh days of the month as well. She's also seen sometimes as being synonymous with Artemis, which is a much more well
Oh,
known
okay.
goddess of the
Yes. Hmm.
moon. So she's commonly honored in a full moon festival in April or May. And because Hecate is known as a protector of the crossroads, and this is a place where she can easily be summoned, others who follow Hecate will leave offerings there, sometimes with the intention that a hungry person can find them, or ways to, summon her. Other ways to honor Hecate are said to be cleaning up trash outdoors, volunteering at your local animal shelter, and basically, like I said earlier, helping your fellow man. So I think that's like, if there's one takeaway from all of this, I think that that is something that everybody can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Man, she's really getting us out there working for it in like such a great way. I love that. And and you mentioned Artemis, and Artemis is known for being an animal lover. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Very cool. Yeah.
mhm.
So as far as like my kind of final thoughts on her, part of what I found so fascinating about Hecate is just how multifaceted she is. Like I said, she doesn't really fit into any box. She's neither good nor evil. She's all encompassing. She's strong yet gentle, feared but adored by so many. And I had no idea that such an ancient goddess is still being worshipped today. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've heard, like I said, I've heard her name. I had no idea how ancient she was. And again, this like I keep putting it in movie terms, but this like cameo of her in all these different stories, being on the edge of things and being just like basically equal to Zeus, but like we don't know her name as much, being equal to like being in opposition to Christianity, but we don't really know her name there, especially as much. Like I definitely never heard her name in, when it comes to Christianity type things. And it's, I love her. I know her whole thing is mystery. Her being on the edge of all of this is so fascinating, and it's the kind of thing that really like kind of like gives me chills. It's like I don't know, her not wanting the adoration, not needing it. Like I have a job to do, I have things to do. This is not about the applause. This is about getting it done and, getting these souls to the underworld and getting it so these humans are actually going out and doing something for each other and
Right.
being a community and taking care of the other creatures of the earth. And like, I had no idea. She was so much. She was so
Yeah,
cool.
that's beautifully said. Yeah, I like when I was reading about her, I was like, she just sounds so freaking cool. And I mean, like, how many
Mhm.
times have you heard something one way in history, like, how you learn it in school? And then it's like, well, actually, this came about because of this person. Like, there's so many people that are written out of history. So it's cool to
Yes.
like dig into somebody that is clearly so important and like a big part of Greek mythology too, regardless of where she stemmed from. But
Hmm.
like there was another article that was like I think it was like the goddess, like the most powerful goddess you've never heard of. And I was like, yeah, this is
That
like a
that's the
perfect
perfect
way.
title for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So,
me, it's like for people like us, especially, it's like I said, I'd heard the name, but I also frequent, a lot of like spiritual shops and stuff. So there's just kind of mention of her, but I never looked into her. I had no idea there was so much lore, I guess, to
There's a
her.
lot of
I don't want
lore. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I
And
love
that's
it.
incredible. I mean, she almost reminds me a little bit, not exactly, but like the idea of her is like Elizabeth Bathory, the
Yes.
famously murdered all the virgins and this and that. But then I remember as I got older, because I always loved that story because I was a morbid child. But like as I got older, I found out, oh, that story actually was probably made up by her uncle who wanted her land and all of this. And so like there's a big chance that like none of that happened, but nobody paid attention to that part. We all just know the horrific story of this horrible woman. And I feel like that's like Hecate. I mean, like Aleister Crowley being like, no, she's just bad. She's a crone. She's
Yeah.
horrible. She's disgusting. We hate her. And it's like, but when you start to dig, it's like, wait, there's more to this story. There's more to this very multifaceted. I mean, she could like talk about containing multitudes. This woman or this goddess. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to reduce her to a woman. Just to a mere mortal, but it's incredible. I mean, again, the cameo thing, just like, yeah, I'm helping Persephone. Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about writing me down. It's like not a big deal. Just remember like the pomegranates and stuff. It's not, I don't need to be in that. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of like people online who don't really fully dig into how multifaceted she is, a lot of people associate her with like only black magic and kind of like those negative
mm,
connotations you get with witchcraft, where it's like, no, like she's so much more than that.
hmm
And you don't have to like follow or practice witchcraft to honor her or like learn about her. And she has such like this motherly, gentle side as well. So I think it's like, I don't know, it's there's so many things we could equivocate it to, but it's just that concept of like within humans, we have all of our different
hmm
forms of ourself. We're not just one thing. I present
yeah.
myself maybe as one thing to my listeners, but there's so many more things about me. Like that's
hmm
how she is too. So, yeah, I loved
That's such a good way to put it.
learning
Yeah.
about her.
hmm
Yeah. So, okay,
Yeah.
I have three Hecate encounter stories. They're not very long, but they're from Reddit, and
Oh,
I just thought that would be so cool to learn about.
yes.
So I have like a little quote from Courtney Weber in her book that kind of sums up Hecate, and then we'll get into those encounters. According to author Courtney Weber, she is a never-ending puzzle. Hecate is a goddess of things that others fear, misunderstand, or even cast out in the mainstream world. She can show comfort in the darkness and shine a light on places that we need to heal. She can show us the depths of our wickedness, highlighting our own inner powers to hurt or destroy. She reminds us of the spirits who have gone before us, connecting us to the lessons they leave behind. She reminds us of the magic in our blood. And just as the moon shines light into the darkness, Hecate shines light into what within us is powerful and loving, forgiving and gracious. So I thought that sums it up really well.
It really does. That's beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
gonna read that book, by the way. That sounds
Yes.
really fascinating.
It's so good. And it really doesn't take that long to read. I want to say it's like 300 pages. Like it's not too bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. Courtney Weber, if you happen to listen to this, I would love to interview you. It's a great, great book. Okay, so yeah, I've got three little Reddit encounters. They're pretty short. This first one is from Reddit user Audrey underscore 92. I came across all these Hecate subreddits, and this is where I was learning more and more about like the modern day worship of her. But this one, it's like they're encountering her for the first time, and they just don't really know what to do with it. So it says Hecate encounter question mark. I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm incredibly new to all of this, learning as I go, so please be gentle with me. However, I believe that Hecate recently made herself known to me. It all started about 6 months ago when a random video about her on TikTok came up in my For You page. Parentheses, don't judge me. That immediately drew me in. Even though I had never heard the name before, there was something so familiar about it at the same time, which led me into a rabbit hole to figure out who she is. And while I was immediately interested in her, I didn't think much about it after that first day. I just kept going on with my life. But ever since that video, I started seeing her name everywhere. Like, I'm not kidding. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, or maybe I was just seeing her name more because I was now familiar with her. But the coincidences just kept appearing and started to seem more like synchronicities. Especially when a few weeks ago, on January 31st, I had this suddenly strong feeling / calling that I should resume my research into her. And when I read that the 31st, the end of the month, is symbolic to her, I couldn't ignore her anymore. So over the last week, I've started to open lines of communication to her. And last Thursday, I believe she showed herself to me in a dream, but I'm still not sure. That night, I had trouble going to sleep. So of course, like all millennials, I was doom scrolling through TikTok. Relatable. I was zoning in and out for a while, and eventually I thought I had fallen asleep, but I think I was kind of in this liminal state, and that's when it happened. I felt like I was spinning, and then felt like I was floating. When I opened my eyes, there was a beautiful woman in a long black dress with long hair and some kind of antlers or crown thing on her head. I remember her looking at me with a firm smile. And then I said her name, Hekate. She nodded. The next thing I knew was it was 6 a.m. the next morning. It was something I've never experienced before. It was wild. So anyway, here I am now, and I've purchased my first statue and offering bowl to set up as an altar space for her. Any tips or words of encouragement for a newbie would be great. End quote.
That's crazy. I mean, it would be really freaky to be like, okay, Hecate, like, let's do this. And then literally having this dream where she's like, all right, let's do this. Like, it's me. And then just the solemn, like, smile and nod. Yeah, love it.
She comes across as like quiet but firm to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like she could just look at you. And I mean, there's like that thing where it's like, don't look her in the eyes because she'll like literally destroy you. Like, I bet her stare is like the most powerful thing ever.
Like a librarian, a very stern librarian who, like,
yes,
you know, she loves her job. She loves you for being there, but like, you got to be quiet and you got to turn those books in on time or you will get the glare.
Exactly. And like that encounter is a lot softer to me and a little bit more like pleasant. This one's a little bit firmer and like a little bit creepy. So again, like the multifacetedness. Okay. So this one gives me more of that crone energy. So this is Reddit user majestic-leopard-656. So they say, had a strange encounter today with who I believe to be Hekate. I was looking for some advice / thoughts since I don't normally delve into deity worship in my practice, parentheses, honestly out of fear from severe OCD. My close friend is a devotee / follower of Hekate. She follows her very closely. And while I was doing candle magic today to reverse something that all my friends believe a third party placed on me, I thanked General God and my ancestors, and I meditated. I was visited telepathically by a presence right before the candle burned itself out. And I had the following conversation in my mind, which was certainly not filled in by my own imagination. So this is all happening internally, but it's like, they're basically like, there's no way I could have come up with this information. It's kind of like when you have dreams and you're like, why did I dream that? I've never seen that person, or I've never. Yeah.
Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I've definitely had those. I lucid dream a lot, and there's stuff that it's been like, that couldn't have come from my subconscious. Like it just couldn't have. So yeah, I get that.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So then they go into like, this is going to be kind of confusing. It's one of those Reddit stories that has a lot of dialogue. So it goes into like, and they label Hekate as just them, but I'm going to say Hekate just to make it better understood. So it's Hekate me, Hekate me, Hekate me. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
So Hekate, quote, "Do you know what they asked you to do?" She said this in a strong, I would say, Nigerian accent. Definitely nothing I'm familiar with or any deity I've worked with. Me, no. Them, do you know what they asked you to do? Me completely guessing. No, to be good. Them, yes. Me, I'm sorry, but I don't know who this is. Who are you? Them, I am Hekate. She said this in a much more familiar Mediterranean accent, sounding like one of my Italian family members. I then went on to explain how I will try to be good and I am imperfect. Each time I tried to explain myself, though, I was told strongly to stop. I couldn't get a word in edgewise, but she also wasn't saying anything. So it's like she's telepathically like telling her to stop talking.
Yeah.
Me. I'm sorry. I just really need to get this off my chest. Can I explain? Hekate. Yes. Me. I began to explain myself, but was cut off. Hekate. Here's what I want you to do. Light a red candle at night, and I will join you there. Me. Will you be upset with me if I don't? Hekate. Yes.
Oh no. Oh.
Me. I just don't think I'm at that level yet. Hekate. Stop. Me. Will you try and frighten me and mess with me if I agree to? Hekate. Yes. Me. Please don't do that. I don't know if I can handle that in this mind state. Hekate. Okay, fine. I won't. Me. I know you want to meet, but can I carry this out when I'm feeling less afraid and more comfortable in the future, with all due respect? Hekate. Yes. That was it. I looked at the clock and it was 3:33 p.m.
Of course it was.
Yeah. Within the next few minutes, I found a lost item. I had no idea where the hell it had gone. Magically fell out of my wallet. I thanked her for helping me find it. I assumed it was Hekate who helped me. And now I'm not sure what to do. I was very put off by how stern and interrupting and demanding she was, but she didn't seem malevolent or like some type of negative entity to pretending to be someone else. The voice change did throw me off, but I don't fuck with anything even approaching black magic, so I don't know why something else would just show up at that moment. Just ... very short on time and seemed to enjoy playing with my fears. Knew what I was asking before I finished and was answering me mid-question. She didn't explain what behavior I was supposed to stop doing either. She kept telling her to stop, but she's like, what am I doing wrong?
Oh my God.
But I believe I know what it is and I'll keep it personal. Okay. So, okay. Okay, actually, I think I do know what she wants me to stop doing. Okay. I don't know if she hates me or why she came because I didn't ask for her, but I'm assuming my friend asked her to help me, and now she's here. And she certainly seems to want to meet with me, which to my understanding is not normally how this works. You have to seek them out. Is any of this normal? I'm not psychotic, schizophrenic, and my day since has been completely normal. I don't normally have this type of event occur, so I'm very shaken up. All the magic I do tends to be candle magic, and I never call upon anything other than a vague the universe because of an intense fear of this. End quote.
First of all, I don't think I'd argue with her as much as this person did. Like, that would have freaked me out a little too much to be like, well, can I just like not?
Right?
Especially now hearing how powerful she is. Like, I don't know. I'd probably be like, okay, yep, red candle, you got it.
Yeah. What do you need
right now? You know, like anything else while I'm out at the store.
I know she likes olives. She likes stuffed figs. Like,
That's
do you want a charcuterie?
Yeah.
I'll make you a charcuterie
right?
platter.
I will make you one, girl. And the question of like, what was the question? It was who told you? What was the original question she had?
It's kind of confusing. Let me see. The original question Hekate asked her.
Yeah.
Do you know what they asked you to do?
That's right. Yeah, that's creepy. Like,
yeah.
That would freak me out. That would have been enough for me to like not argue and just be like, I don't know. Like, do you know what they asked you to do? Who's they?
Well, and then she's kind of like, she's kind of playing dumb, but then she's like, actually, I do think I know what she's talking about, but I'm not going to tell you guys.
Yeah, which is interesting that she's like, okay, so like, it's like she did get it out of you. So you did
Yeah.
know, deep down you did.
I just had this other thought. I don't want to get like super, super deep into this rabbit hole, but like this just made me
Mhm.
think of reincarnation and like past lives because if Hecate helps guide people into the afterlife, and like people, like if you believe in reincarnation, people who have these new
Mhm.
lives and are reborn over and over again, they each time you're reborn, it's like you're this stronger sense of self with like a greater
Yes.
understanding of what you're coming here to do. And it's like
Mhm.
if Hecate guides all these people into their other lives, then she knows all of your past lives and she knows like your mission. And she's like, do you know what they asked you to do? Like,
Yeah, that
that's,
could be a much deeper question
yeah, it's
than
getting
I
really
had even
deep, but
considered.
I don't know how to like
Yeah.
fully
I
verbalize
I get
that,
where you're
but
at. Either I don't either, but I can see I know what you're saying. Like,
it's like a mission. Like, do you know what you're supposed to do, like in this
yeah,
life?
because
That's the
every time
vibe
you
I'm
come back,
getting.
you're supposed to, yeah, learn a lesson and improve upon something. And
Yes.
it's like this, well, do you remember what they told you to do this time around? And like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying
yeah.
to say. Yeah. Whew,
Mhm.
interesting. Okay, so I have one more, and this is from Reddit user temporary underscore cell underscore 7377. Hecate's encounter with me, and this one's not very long at all. So it's just really showing me praise and appreciativeness overall for what she has done for me. She came into my life on February 24th, which was an astrological time of change for me. I was going through a very tough time with a lot of self healing and personal spiritual journey once again after my breakup with my long term ex. I felt unworthy a lot. And by the 24th of February, I actually learned so much self healing, like how I excused how my ex treated me, how I had a victim mentality, etc. I actually stumbled upon a video about Hecate on my TikTok, another TikTok. My algorithm had nothing to do with her at all. Then I thought of the signs and I felt like, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. So I called out to her and felt an electrifying sprint up my spine. Then I did
Ooh.
my first, yeah, creepy. Then I did my first spiritual work with her and understood so much. We did tarot reading to see what advice she had for me, followed by shadow work to heal my inner child wounds. And I felt like she was so, so, so misunderstood by people. She is the epitome of the dark feminine. She demands loyalty, faithfulness, love, devotion. She's very protecting and territorial. She is intimidating because she stays strong and her will doesn't fluster easily. Her intent is as clear as the darkness. I love her so much, and I love that the universe has sent me a spiritual guide, a teacher, and loved one to guide me and love and care for me. She pushes me and encourages me. End quote.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I feel like that's what I've gathered so far anyway. Like dark feminine makes so much sense. Like
yeah,
she
I
just
love
has
that.
she demands a lot of you, but she's not bad, you know? And yeah, I can judge like considering the things that Aleister Crowley was doing, I could see why she would present herself in such a like horrifying form, or he would see her as like bad or,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can see why he would be like, "Oh, she's terrible and horrifying and don't
Yeah.
mess with her." Because she was probably like, "Hey, don't mess with me." But to like others, it's like, "Hey, don't mess with me." But also, like, I love you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect way to explain it. So, that, everybody, is the perplexing story of Hecate, the goddess of witches, and some fascinating encounters with her.
That was incredible. Yay. I know. I feel like I should clap. It was, I'm blown away. I'm sorry I was so quiet. I'm like actually sitting here thinking about all this now. Like I'm gonna do so much research on Hecate after this. I'm
That's
blown away. This was
okay.
like
I
such a
love that.
perfect topic for me. I'm so glad I was kind of like, here's a few guided lines, but like, I don't know, you go, you pick. And I'm so glad I had you pick. I would have never picked this. This is amazing.
That makes me happy. Yeah, it's hard sometimes to like pick somewhat of an original story because I feel like a lot of people do so many similar things around October.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do something witchy, but something that was like different. And I've liked starting to dig into mythology more recently. And she just seemed so mysterious. And I was like, I want to learn who this
Yeah.
is. So that's super cool. And I love like witchcraft stories and just like the concepts of witchcraft. There's a lot of that that resonates with me, even though it's not something I practice. And I was like, why not learn more
Mhm.
about the literal goddess of witches? Well, I, at this point in the show, would love so much if you talked more about like your show and where people can find you. And if you have a paranormal or like a mysterious encounter story you would like to share, I would love to hear that as well.
For sure. Okay. So I was kind of thought about this because you mentioned it when we were emailing, but I've had a couple experiences, but one I don't think I've actually really told on any other shows before
Oh,
is
perfect.
yeah, a few years ago, I did a live show with a few people from my network. It was SCP Archives and the Creepy Podcast. And we all did a live show in Chicago at this place called the Music Box Theater. And I, of course, like once I heard that we were going to be at like what sounded like an old theater, I immediately looked up to see if it was haunted. I was like, gonna look it up, gotta see if it's got a ghost. Sure enough, it's got a ghost. And I was like, yes, it's got a ghost. I'm happy. Let's see if anything happens. So I like when we were rehearsing the day before or like earlier that day, I like walked around with my camera and just like see if I could get anything. And I would like kind of talk to the ghosts like when I was off by myself because I was like, these people, I just met them all in real life for the first time. They can't know I'm crazy. Because surprisingly, a lot of people in the horror universe and the horror uh community are very skeptical to the point where like they will think you're like the biggest dummy alive if you're like, I believe in ghosts. And so I was kind of keeping it to myself a little bit.
Huh.
So after the show, this particular theater, it's more of a like movie theater these days. There's no real like backstage. So after the show, when we all came out and did our bows, we were like, oh, let's go into this little, it's like a little storage closet basically off to the side. But that way we wouldn't have to go back through the crowd and get stopped a million times by all of our listeners. That sounds so rude. I just mean because we had a meet and greet afterwards and we didn't want to get stopped and not make it in time to our little meet and greet afterwards. And not that we didn't want to meet everybody. That was not it. It was just that we were trying to get it like kind of tucked away for all of them to move to the other room where the meet and greet was happening. And so we were in this little, like, it was like, again, like a storage closet. It had all kinds of creepy stuff in it because it was just props from different shows. Had this like skeleton in a coffin that was really creepy looking. And we were in there and we were like talking, all of us were like talking about the ghost because other people had heard of it too. A few of them were locals in Chicago who like knew about this ghost. And I was like, well, I think his name is Toby. I think that's the ghost's name. I'm very bad with names. So but I think the ghost name is Toby. And I was like, we should thank Toby because like nothing went wrong and we did like a good show, which is funny because a few things did go wrong, but they all got fixed very quickly. And this like light back, it was like some kind of prop. I still don't know what it was because it was up on a high shelf. It like turned on, like this red light, like turned on.
Ooh.
And all of us were because it was pitch black in this little room because we didn't turn any lights on. It was just again, it's a closet and it's nighttime. So we all just kind of stopped, like, oh, yeah, thanks, Toby. And it like went off and came on again. And it was just
Ooh.
this like some random little prop back there. So then we go do the meet and greet, everything. But after everybody's gone, after all the listeners and audience members were gone, we all like everybody who was involved with the whole production came out into the street and we took like a big like picture of all of us out in the street. Some of those pictures came out and like I could not believe this. My friend who was also there and like does SCP Archives Pacific was like, I cannot wait for you to see these pictures.
Ooh.
All of like, a bunch of people's faces in these pictures were like blurry, like mutated, like they looked ghoulish. Only the faces. It wasn't like it was a smear
Whoa.
across. It wasn't like everything blurred out. And it was only in like a couple flash of like, because someone took like 10 pictures in a row just so we could get them all done. And it was only in like this set of like three or so in the middle where like certain people's faces, again, not even everybody's face. It wasn't like it didn't look like a phone glitch because it wasn't everybody's face. looked like monstrous, like
Wow.
deformed and like twisted. Like you had taken the blur tool just over their face that like twisted it. It was so creepy. And this is I didn't see these pictures until like a couple weeks later. And I remember saying, I was like, I'm so glad I did not see those like in the moment. And no one did because we just kind of took them. Then we all went to a bar afterwards. So no one was looking at these pictures. And
Yeah.
again, like we did have a few things happen at this theater, like when it came to like sound and lighting and stuff. So a few weird things did happen. And I feel like afterwards, like saying thank you to Toby and being like, thanks for the show. He was just like, I'm here. Also, I'm in the street too. Like I can come out here. I don't know. It was just really creepy. And so like that was in the whole time you could just feel something in there. And it was, someone was hanging out and watching and clearly wanted to be like, I'm here and my presence is known. And I have those pictures if anybody goes to look. I think they're on my
Yeah.
Instagram.
Okay.
If
That's
you
what I
look
was
at
gonna
like, I think they're
ask.
pinned. I think they're one of them is pinned and it's like
Okay.
it's got the Music Box Theater like marquee, but if you scroll through, like I think one of them's in there and it's really, really weird.
Okay. I'll see if I can find them. Do you mind if I like put them in the YouTube video if
No,
I
for
can find
sure.
them? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
So
And then yeah, my
yeah, I'll definitely
listeners,
send them to you.
I'll Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, then I can put them
Yeah.
in the Instagram post.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And oh, and then I'm supposed to talk about my show. I got all into the Music Box
No,
Theater.
it's okay.
So,
Yeah, that was great.
so
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
so my show, you can find it again anywhere you get podcasts. You can follow me on all the socials at Scary to Sleep, or you can follow me personally at Shelby B Novak. Or if you have any stories of your own that you want me to read on the show, and again, respond to, you can send it to scarytosleep@gmail.com. And yeah, it's again a mix of fictional stories. So you can send in fictional short stories if you'd like to, and true stories and stuff, really dark stuff I found on Reddit. And yeah, it's an eclectic show.
It's a yeah, dark, mysterious, eclectic show, and Shelby's a great storyteller and very great productional value. I love like this the music and the sound effects that
Thank
are put into
you.
it. Absolutely. I can tell that a lot of work goes into it. And for the record, I love your rambles at the end of your show.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. I would just
They're
like to
very
say that.
controversial. Yeah.
I know they are.
I
So,
appreciate that.
and I'm sure like some of your listeners are coming over here and may have mixed feelings about that, but I
Yeah.
personally love your rambles. And part of why I do is because I feel like this is something I can resonate with as well. Is like on my show, you see kind of one side of me, like what we were talking about earlier. But when I
Mhm.
have guests, it kind of brings out that other side, a little bit more personality. And I think that that's cool when you get to like learn more about the person you're listening to every week and what they like and what makes them tick. And, I think that putting it at the end as well, it's like if somebody doesn't want to listen, they don't have to. But like, this is another side of me where I get to like open up in my own
Yeah,
space and talk about what I want to talk
exactly.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first started the show, I definitely was trying to go for like, I'm a mysterious, mistress of darkness who just tells you scary stories and then I bounce at the end. And then I just started kind of again, I'm a talker. So I just started I think the first few started out just because I had like announcements for the show and that got me on a tangent about like, oh yeah, and I baked a cake this week, you guys. And then from there it just stuck. And again, I've gotten rid of them before because people were like, I hate this. And then I got a bunch more people who were like, no, I love that. Don't listen to that person. So I brought them back and it's a whole thing I wrestle with.
And I'm like that too because I really value listener input. So if they say
Hmm.
something, then I'm immediately like, I have to fix this. But then I think like the longer I do this, there's definitely times where I'm like, actually, this is something that is important to me to talk about. And like,
Yeah.
we don't have many spaces where we can just kind of sit down and talk about whatever we want to talk
Hmm.
about. Well, any other final thoughts on anything?
Hekate is badass, and I underestimated her and didn't even know I was underestimating her. Like,
Hekate is
yeah,
badass. Yeah, really,
yeah.
really cool. Yeah, I love her. I stand.
Love her. Respect. Yeah, respect.
Yes. Before we close out today's episode, I just want to remind everybody to check out Shelby Scare You to Sleep wherever you get your podcasts. Her links will be in the show notes. It is a great show. I thoroughly enjoy it. And if you do go check out her show and you enjoy it, show her some love and tell her Perplexity sent you, please and thank you. I would love it so much if you enjoyed this episode, if you would subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast, leave a 5-star review, please. It really helps the show. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this episode if you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. And don't forget, again, live show Wednesday, October 30th, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube Live. I will have a full story for you guys. It'll be so much fun. Patreon.com/Perplexity Mystery Podcast is where you can support the show. You can get early and ad-free episodes for just $1 a month. And if you want bonus content, you can join at the $3 or above tiers. And there's tons of bonus content, especially this month for spooky season. So go check that out if that interests you. Last but certainly not least, I am always looking for listener stories. So if you have had a crazy, creepy experience happen to you, I would love to hear about it. If you have a Hekate experience, that would be really cool. Send that to me, please. I am always collecting listener stories. Email those to me at perplexitymysterypodcast@gmail.com. You all are amazing. I hope you have a great week and stay safe. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.